Well, hello. Been doing a lot of putty. Also used like in here on these power conduit trenches. Um, the Tamiya surface primer, which is something you can thin out and spray, and it'll be just like their surface primer in a can, or you can brush it on and help fill in areas that you don't like, almost like putty, and then you can sand it. Sometimes it works really good in certain areas. So like there, I might hit. These are looking really good. Looking and even you can feel they feel nice. Um, and got in here on these guys. I have a little more to do on the other side. I don't want to drag that trench in too much there. I'm gonna come back and scribe that because I want it to have a little seam because these ships are built in pieces. I'll have to come in there and pull that seam, but it'll look like a panel line. But you think about it, this ship would have been built in sections, and the cells would lift off. So I still want it to look like that type of thing, just like the saucer comes off. So we'll go and even like this seam here. I'm not trying to make it where it technically hides the seam. I'm trying to make it look where, because you can see there's different panel lines. Some do line up. I noticed that one lines up there, but that one doesn't line up with anything on the pylon. So I just want to fill in the gap. But if it, and the nice thing with clearing, almost pretty much sanding the perfect plastic putty with just water, since it's water soluble, it'll still leave, a seam line if I, keep cleaning it nice. But yeah, so that's what we've been doing on that. Also sanded because I had a couple of tree nubs on the nacelles there that were still there. I needed to clean up those nacelles. And I just been going through and blending in where the different pieces of these phase arrays were. Just taking a file and kind of doing that. Get those nice and level, especially on the tops, and just been sanding those, and then we'll go in and putty those seams and get them a little better. And we'll do the same thing. We'll do the whole edges all the way around on this one too. There's one probably fix. These didn't. They're a hair short. Like it's fitting across here all good. I see a little bit of the old school bump that they had for their phasers. But what I found is I can take this and go in there and get rid of it. So that when I go in there and putty, it's nice and smooth. And it cleans up really nice. And then there's a little bit here. I did it already on the top. The worst area was here because I kind of started here and went that way. Or no, I did start in the center here on the front one because I wanted them to fit nice and tight. And then came back, but this end here ended a little short. I did the same thing there, just filed a little bit of that hump away. I'll try to do it without losing any detail on the actual surface of the ship. Yeah, that works great. And then when we go in there and putty it up, you'll never know because they lift it up just a hair. Actually, no, these are sitting pretty tight. That one lifted up just a little bit, but once it's putty, you won't tell. I think this drive section I'm pretty happy with. I might just go through and with a little Scotch-Brite and just clean up and scuff up the surfaces, being careful of any photo etch areas, except for this I can go over, but like these pieces here, those, and these little ones, I don't want the Scotch-Brite to grab them and rip them apart. And plus these here have like a fold with a detail. I didn't hit that with any glue. I didn't have any really good thin CA glue. That one's still good. I was hitting this one a couple times. But I figured once the paint hits them, it'll start to seal. But this little detail right here, this grill part, I do have to get down because it's loose. And just make sure there's all the seams and panel lines that I want gone are gone. And I think so. I cleaned up around the all the phasor arrays. Let's all look at. Oh, I think I can fix. Now, sometimes it's hard to tell if that's just clear resin, and that's why the putty's not there and it got wiped away. I can't get a focus at that angle. I'm thinking. Nope, that's a gap. So I'll have to get some plastic putty in there. Sometimes it's a little bit of clear, and it could be a little bit clear as well, but I got to get a little putty in that corner. I might want to clean up this edge here where I had some epoxy leak through. And is that a little hole? Yep, and there's a little hole there where I can just take a little putty and whoop, fix that. I think all these look good. Everything looks good in there. I should probably fill this gap right here. I don't know if you'll see it on the bottom part of that dish as well. Yeah. You know, black tulip might work there too. And I can take a Q-tip and clean the excess out. That way it'll take care of any light leaking too. But yeah, I gotta fill that seam right there where this clear part meets the hull. Like I said, black tulip will work great, and it'll self-level. And I don't mind that it has like a almost, if it levels with a little indent, that's okay. We just want to block it and make it not look choppy. And but other than that, she's good to go. We can start masking this and hitting her with a hull color. And like I said, with the saucers, I did the nav lights. Let's light up. I did the nav lights with tulip. I went around the bridge with some tulip. It fills in the gap. Do I see something opening there? No. I'm not sure what's going on there. No, I think we're pretty good. Yeah, it fills in the gap. It'll self-level, so you won't even tell. And also the light block. So if any light's trying to leak, it'll take care of that. And I did it around this photo etch windows back here. Kind of gives it a little bit of a better transition because I have these sitting on top. And it light leaks around. And I also painted the inside where the plastic was showing from when we cut it out. I hit it with some black. That'll keep the light from making this plastic glow, which could make a halo around the windows. And that's with the top. So this one's ready to go too. And I think, and we're just going to paint these separate. And of course, I got putty all around these phasor arrays. I used the perfect, or not the perfect, I use perfect plastic putty for around the edges. But for these gaps here, I use the Tamiya surface primer. I could take it, it's a thick primer. But it's made so if you want to brush it in areas for it to fill in holes or stuff like that, you can brush it. But if you can just get some lacquer thinner, You can thin it out and spray it just like their extra fine um, primer you get in the can. So I use that because it filled in perfect and it pulls the shape and dries the shape. And that way I didn't have to do a lot of sanding and putty, putting and sanding. And then, so it filled all those. This was the one that had a slight gap right there. So I did all that. Then just took some perfect plastic putty, put it in a little cup like this, wet it down, took a Q-tip, and I want to get a syringe. That's what Boyd used a lot, his little syringe. I'm seeing if I can 3D print one because I found a couple of syringes you can 3D print. And that way you can just squirt it in there and just come back and wipe it off. And it fills in any little small, tiny, tiny gaps. That way your paint's not, even your primer doesn't have to work as hard. But we'll clean all this up. But yeah, that was a good idea to do. And the bottom, pretty much the same idea. Hit the nabs. I went around this. I think I got where I saw the little, just tiny little, which probably after the hull color and the decals would probably disappear anyway, but just, it's better to make sure 100% instead of, while you're here, instead of relying, oh, my base coats will cover it. It's better to just make sure while you got this open instead of wishing you did it while you had it open. So I hit a little more black around here. So yeah, we'll clean this putty up here. Give the phaser arrays a little light sand. I already filed them to make them, these joints level. So when you run your finger over top, you don't really feel a difference between the 4 pieces. And we'll start spraying this hull. That way, before we close it up, I'm going to do my windows from this side and see if that works instead of the normal way where I would just syringe them in from the outside. It means less cleanup on your outside. I can do it all from the inside. And plus, if you get a little blob of it out here, that's more for these lights to grab, kind of like the clear parts on the 350s. So I think this is the best way to do it. And then all we have to do is put the saucer together, and then we just touch up the edges, which will be way easier. I don't know if I showed you that I ground this down as well. What are we getting in there? That's just paint. I probably had some of this pearl white. I used it on the refit. I don't think I'm going to use it on the A. I think the A is just going to be a basic white. But I thinned that out to give more room for these windows. And it works great. You just get it thin enough where it's really flexible there. So I might want to hit that with some white. Might touch it up with a little black just in case, even though we're never really gonna see this, but to make sure it doesn't want to light leak out the bottom here and be seen in this seam, because this seam we're going to leave still as a seam because of the fact that that's where it will separate. So that's a working seam. So we'll touch that up with a little black, and then we'll hit it with some white. That's just a great, and we're done. But yeah, that's everything. But yeah, we'll do the windows, I think, from the inside, and then start closing this up because we got to get this wire through here. So yeah, but depending on when I Aztec the bottom, for sure, the top one will definitely do by itself. But the bottom one, it's still up in the air if we're going to do it when it's together or when it's apart. If the decals give you a separate piece for there, underneath there, then we're going to do them apart. And then we'll glue them together. It's going to be so much easier to deal with the decals when I can sit this down and do it that way. Got everything all cleaned up. Figured I'd put her together again, make sure everything's working still. I'm even doing a test on the photon torpedoes. on both front and rear, and they're working good. I can see the 2 light portholes around the airlock on the side there. I can make sure I got those cleaned out. I'm getting very little. I'm getting light there, and also I haven't on the underside painted that black and then white either. So I do want to try that and see if I can get a little more light in these windows back here. I want them dimmer, but I think we can get better. I'm also thinking about filling that whole pocket full of clear resin. I don't know if I go with Solarez, tape these, and then from the inside put some Solarez, and as I'm building up, try to mix some blue in it, just very light blue, or make it mix up a bunch in a cup. Make sure it's dark in here. Get some in there. But if I do fill that up, make sure it flows over the top so that clear resin can catch the light. That might help too. And so it's just going through and make sure everything's ready to spray. I'm happy with everything. Got everything cleaned up and sanded. I might put a little more putty in that joint there, and on the same on the other side, just a little bit more. Let they get dried in a little bit, and make sure these are cleaned up on the inside ones. Make sure I tack that corner of that photo etch part. I'm using 2 spools of wire to hold it up. But everything's working good, and then we also got to get the shuttle bay in there. No light leaks around here, so that tulip going around the bridge worked great. And it also smoothed out in the seam, so it's not such an abrupt seam. We'll see how the first coat of paint will take to it. But I'll go around here with a little Scotch-Brite and clean that up a little bit too. Everything is working. Reflector dish. I put some on the dried section. I put some tulip. I'm going to put some more in there because it soaked it down. To act like a light block in, like almost a gasket filler there. This is going to get that painted anyway, and this is not actually supposed to. This part here actually is not supposed to glow blue. I only want blue from this center oval. The outer dish will sit right on there. That'll glow the outer dish, and it's got photo etch on it, so it'll light block. Photo etch light blocks where it doesn't need to glow blue. I think it's mainly just a loop that glows blue, and we just want reflections because that outer dish covers this whole oval, so you won't see it. And we just want the reflections of this to shine blue. But this actual part that's all ribbed isn't really supposed to glow blue at all. And then the hole here for that one light I'll do later, and I think there's plenty of light in that neck. Yeah, look how bright it is in there. That I can just stick a fiber optic up in there. Because I think that is a dimmer light than these. It's almost even a off-white. And everything down here looks good. Like I said, I'll go through a little light Scotch-Brite to give it a little tooth, but not that it doesn't get rid of the detail. Get rid of any oils from my hands. And also, I can get in here and really fine, and soften any putty sharpness or any weirdness in the putty. That's all working good. Even our fiber optics back there are still working. I don't know if I can get her to that torpedo going off. Yeah, you can see him a little bit. But anyway, we're getting down to the part I was waiting for. I got to get the Enterprise D opaque, the translucent one, the newer version, or what they call clear, but it's actually in milky white plastic that allows the lights inside to glow it. So I'll just cut in and out on that on that ship on things that are different from this one, which will be the light blocking, because we'll be actually light blocking from the outside. I might do a little light blocking on the lower half of this back here, just to help it not, glow these arms, and if you get a scratch, it'll be lit. But anywhere where there's windows, yeah, all that's going to be done on the outside, and then we just scratch the windows we want to show light through. And that should be fun, because that'll be my first time doing that. Well, all right, we're getting ready down to painting. Cleaned up everything on these. Use some micro mask on the lights there. Almost forgot about some details, so I always go back and check the photo sheet. There's two little squares. I think you can kind of see. Get them to reflect. There's two little squares, one there and one there, that had to go on. Zoom in. There we go. Now we can see them. Yeah, these two there that had to go on. Yeah, I used the micro mask for the lights, so that's all dried in, and this is ready to go. Gave it a little light scuff. I think I have to scuff a little bit there more. Clean up any gunk from your hands and all that kind of stuff, and oils, and we're ready to go on that. Top saucer is ready too. Did the same thing. Did the micro mask on the nav lights, and there was a little detail square right there. I had to go on. I'm hoping that's where it is, because it's very hard to see. So I went and looked at some of the filming miniature, and I saw something over there. So that's where I decided to put it. Between the instructions from Green Strawberries, like I said, they don't always they just kind of have an arrow pointing down there, and it's hard to tell where it is. But that's about where they're showing it. There's a double, double, and a single. There's the double, double, and a single, or double, double, and a single. So they kind of have it over on this next square. And that's about where they showed it, where it looks like there's something here on the filming miniature. And it's within this, if you bring this line down, it's within there. So that works for me. And did the micro mask on the flasher on the top. I noticed a little bit of a glowing up here, so I hit it with a little black from the light bulb inside here. I don't know if I mentioned that to try to help get more light in here, I took my Dremel and just went here and tried to grind a little bit of an angle so light can kind of try to sneak in there. And then and then I hit these with a little black, and I want to hit them with a little tulip up top, kind of start a little gasket. And I think when we put this together, I'm going to hit it with tulip again, so the two pieces will smush together. That way we don't get any red and green, especially the red and green, leaking in any of these windows. But I think what I decided is came up with is if I do a little bit of tulip here now to build up, because it's kind of spongy. It's a thick paint. think if I do this, and it'll probably self-level. That'll give us a little more height without it being, I use just putty to build a little wall. Worked fine. And then it's white, so it gives me some reflection on the inside. And it actually worked out good that I didn't even have to put, I was planning on putting lights on both top and bottom and having them, flashing that one flashing down and one flashing up. And I'm all zoomed in, so it's gonna be hard to see. But it worked out that that whole cavity glows and it actually sends it right down to the lower ones, and I didn't have to build a wall at all. These will line right up. There's the pin, and should hopefully line right up. And it glows that plastic piece just fine. I figure I'll build it up a little bit now. Because it is going to want to settle. I'm actually even putting it up a little higher than it really should be. But it does what Tulip normally does. It will settle down. But it, being thick, that it's a fabric, that you could actually write on, it'll have it almost has like a squishiness to it. I don't like to leave these tips with a big booger on it, because then it just boogers up these caps. Even though this one is anyway. Yeah, because you ever try to scrape this fabric paint, like I was going in here and cleaning up the corners here in the deflector dish, because I used it down in here. It fills in and light blocks all at the same time. Yeah, but it's very rubbery. It's almost like a latex paint. Or it has that real kind of rubbery kind of vibe instead of being flaky. And all right, so we'll let that dry. Everything, I went in here and hit white. After grinding that, I had to hit with black and then hit it with some white again. Went through and shortened this wire. I do have to test to see if this is giving power again. This wire was like really long. Here's the, of course it's gonna grab. Here's the rest of it. This used to attach there and then go there. So it's like I can almost attach it again. I don't think I was sure where I was going to attach it at that time, but I was like, let's make it all nice and short. Everything's looking good in here. This is my beacon. These are the nav lights. This will eventually get, once we paint it, the outside, we'll get the hull gray. I'm going to go with the slate gray from Deco Arts. It's in between the filming miniature and the TV miniature. The paint schemes on between the TV and the filming miniature. Yeah, see, it's starting to level out already. But that'll give me one more brim. Because I noticed that when I was doing a light test, I saw a little glow. Now, when I squished them together, because I only really had it taped here and here. When I squished it together, it got better. But I think I build them up. That's going to give me an extra insurance. And then we'll do another bead before we glue it down. And hopefully that'll come up and hit the walls here. And hopefully we won't get any of that black all over here. I mean, I could always let it cure a little bit too, so it's not as sticky. So it doesn't get all over those clear parts. Anything else we did to the bottom? No, just went through here and whiten that up. But we'll have to unsolder these because once we paint the hull color, that's where I was at. Once we paint the hull color, one of the good reasons why I wanted to do these in half is I don't have to worry about blocking off the shuttle bay. I'm thinking I'm going to do the windows, probably do some solar res. I think we'll do the windows from the inside, see if that works. And this way I don't have to mask any of these windows. And try to scrape things like solar res, I'm afraid I'll scratch them too much. And in that way, all we have to do is decals over top of it. No scraping, no masking, or anything like that. I think that'll work. There's a lot of windows, and try to mask all those and make masks for them. But yeah, now this one's ready to go too. I don't see anything else. I already scuffed it. And this is ready to go. And then once we get this painted and sealed, put the windows in, do all the window, glaze the windows, and then we can unsolder this and put the bridge in and get that glued in somehow. I know we can glue it here. I think I'm going to glue pegs to come down in these corners. You can see where I have like a little pencil line. Maybe I'll take some tube styrene and make little pegs. That way it always sets level and it has those areas right there to set. And then it'll set there. So we'll have those 4 points there and then where the floor hits there. But it's getting down to just stuff here, which I wanted to really clean up. This deflector dish. It's just dust. Go there. We'll get in here with like a little rubbing alcohol. And so we'll mask this center oval in there. And then the rest of this probably will have to get light blocked. Although the metallics are pretty heavy, but I think I might do a coat of black around there to light block all of it, but just in the center. All these are done, and we just got to mask these nacelles and Bassard collectors. What else needs to? All the flashers, which are there. We got a flasher here. I got that piece in. And there should be a steady on there. And we can start painting you. And I went ahead. I wasn't sure how I was going to do that, but I figured I was going to use the micro mask, or I might have some old vinyl from Aztec Dummies vinyl masks that I bought for like the 350 refit or the toss for the round windows. I think those will work perfectly right there. I might actually that would be a quicker way than using that. I don't know if he has one that looks a little different in size. Maybe not opening, but we'll see if I have some. I kept all like his little extra window masks. He gives you, he has room on the sheet. He'll just fill it up with some extras, which is great. I appreciate that, Lou. So I kept all this, extra stuff that I had from him, or even like the refit had Aztec enhancers. I keep that. They work great for Star Destroyers, especially if it's in scale with the shapes. I should actually see how they're flashing. All right, let's see. We're good to do anyway. Whoop, that's not good. What we got going on here that we're, because that's usually when the positive and negative touch each other. Now I'm going to disconnect the white, which is going to go to a switch. This is new. It was just working this morning. could be that that didn't wrap around. But I'm wondering if the paint or anything like that until it's showing up on that. We haven't messed with anything electrical, so. Oh, you know where it is? Right up here. That's where it is. So it's the wires heading up to the top. Yep. Positive, negative touching. And I love that thing because it senses that and it won't send power. As I was saying, it quits sending voltage until you find the short. All right. These two I can just grab one. What I find with these little wires are very small. Two of them makes a difference, but these alligator clips don't always bite down on the wire real good. So I usually crimp it on one end of the insulation and then just fold the wire over to make contact. That way the alligator clip will stay attached to the wire because it's grabbing the insulation. And seems to work good. Here we go. There we go. We got a short from the wires up top. Now, are we getting... Yep. Not too bad. Not too bad. Like I said, that was the only problem I was worried about, is if I missed anywhere. But, especially in here, I left room. I can dab a little more red in there. And I also see I have some light leak up there, so I'll just hit some tulip up there. That's a good thing while we're testing this now. With the white, it was so... The torpedoes were so bright. The light coming out, you didn't even see that because you were getting lens flare from your eye. So we'll hit some tulip up there, which will also help close the little gap anyway. And here's our one in the back. And we'll hit some tulip around. You can see it's... you're still getting some flare from that one. We're getting a little glowing around the photo etch. And that's probably because I should have painted in there black as well. So it's glowing some of the plastic where it's really thin. But we'll just hit that with some black. I wanted to see if we're getting any bleed through where these marker lights here going under. I hit it with a little more black. So that is where we're at. We're getting down to painting here. So I think the saucer section is all ready to go. I went through with some black craft acrylic and hit the areas where I puttied, and that kind of like a primer helps me see how the putty looks, and then everything looks good. Everything's sealed up, no holes. Once I used it around here to help light block that a little better, and it's working good. I think we're good to go. And I have liquid mask. I might do another dab of a liquid mask on that one. I think it might have got touched. Just to make sure. When it dries, it really dries down small. I usually dab a little bubble on top. And then I hit around the bridge again, too, to make sure I put tulip down there at first, because it had a slight gap, and it filled it in nice. So that's good. And then on the dried section, I did the same thing. Went around and hit all the putty areas to see how the joints look. And pretty happy. I did use some of the Tamiya surface primer, which comes like this. But like I said, you can put it in your airbrush, just thin it out, put some a lacquer thinner. But everything's looking good on this as well. I even put it, on this lip here to make sure that looks sanded smooth, and that looks great. The only areas I found and is I had to fill in and I have to sand it yet. The little area right there in the neck, you can see that light gray. That's this. I got this in a gray and white. And right there on these very ends was just a little seam line you could see. Probably by the time you paint and all the decals on there won't be too bad. But yep, so we'll start taping it. Where do I want to start? I might even have a small piece of tape here. That'll fit in there. These are my Tamiya rolls. This is the real wide. This is the real thin. Oh yeah. And this is the medium. And then I got pinstriping tape. Get those out. I don't think I need any pinstriping until masking off all the phasers. Oh yeah, we don't need that. I think we can get away with this one. Pretty much. And the clear part will cover a lot of it, and then we get a faux etch grill on there too. Alright, can I measure it and do it that way? Might be hard because where it's at. What I can do, piece, it off, place it down on that, get us a straight edge. See if I can get it in the first try. Should have probably cut it a hair bigger. I don't know how well it measured it. That's better. Pick. Hopefully it'll go in there without getting all funky. Problem is it wants to stick on the top of the kind of pushed it in too far. I can get it to grab with this. That'll work because the bulbs are up high, so that should work. Because the area I had to glue, kind of like here, and so the bulbs are kind of sitting high, so that will work. Now, what's the approach? For these Bassard collectors and this stuff. If I can do something like that and just trim around it, or maybe something like this first. Mm. I think that'll work. We'll see when we cut it. I wonder if I almost should cut this stuff first. Let's see what happens. We don't want to cut into our clear plastic. I am using cracked acrylic, so if I do get a little bit of over on it, I can just wipe it off with water before we seal it. Get rid of these teethy ends, and then I don't have to cut that edge. Just had to get rid of, these things. These give you that waffled cut. I should leave that like that for now. Bend in here. I do love this Tamiya tape because it's so thin you can flex it around things. That cut really good. Normally, and what I should have done is painted these nacelles, but I didn't have a color that I wanted yet. Painted the two halves and then put the clears in, and then all I would have had to do is touched up these edges there. But I wasn't sure what gray I wanted to use at that time. The other thing nice about Tamiya tape is it doesn't take a lot to cut it. It's so thin. You can be kind of delicate. This little end here was not wanting to lay down. I'm afraid it would lift up. All right, one Bassard collector done. But I'm not going to bore you with this. This is just masking 101. And I'll be back when we start painting it. All right, got a coat of the gray on the bottom saucer section. And this is just one coat. You kind of got to go light because the craft acrylics can get really runny. So you got to kind of go light. But actually it took a coat pretty good, especially with all these panel lines that you can see now. So that's going to be great. Very happy. But now let's do this top half. And then the other drive section is all masked up here. I'm just letting a couple of the liquid mask down there set up before I didn't do that last night. We got the deflector dish going. I'm almost wondering if I should hit a little black in there first, because I don't want this to actually light up. Only that inner circle there that you see is taped. So I might do that because I think the metallic colors that are going to go out here, that orangish, rusty copper kind of look, might not block it all. So I'm thinking I should do a little black in there too. But we can at least get these saucer sections done. So let me switch things over and get a camera where in the tripod, and we'll start spraying the top saucer. And then we'll come back and do more coats on this. Well, okay, let's got the top on here. Just do a check to make sure there's nothing I forgot. I think we're good to go. I'm gonna keep the fan off. I mean, this is just water-based acrylic, so it's not. And I do put a little bit of alcohol, but sometimes you gotta watch, and I should always do a test because sometimes alcohol will make these clump up too. And usually it's in the metallics that do that. So I did add a little bit in here to help it because the alcohol in there, besides just water, the alcohol act like more like a thinner, so you don't get clogs and stuff like that like to happen with these craft acrylic paints. Let's go. And I'm glad I decided to do these in half so I don't have to worry about that shuttle bay. It kind of just, you don't really have to at first. Try to get a lot down because it will want to run, and once you get a coat or two on there, then it'll stick nice. But at first it's a little slick when it doesn't have anything to stick to of itself. It starts sticking to itself really well. But so far on the other one, on the bottom half, it really actually surprised me on how well it is sticking to it. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? The impulse engine lights, which isn't a big deal. Well, I'll spray around that, not hit those yet. It's water-based, so I can just wipe it off. That's the good thing. If you make it whoop, like I just wipe it right off that bulb. I don't even think I really got much on it. But yeah, we'll have to I'll finish this coat out and just spray around it because really any of that's in where the impulse housings will be. So we'll just spray around them for now for this first coat. And then as this first coat's drying, I will throw a little liquid mask on there, or maybe look for an old vinyl. I really need to get a better little Lazy Susan. I had to put this one on here to make it go up more, but they don't spin these old as well. They're just cheapos that came with this spray booth. And by itself it'd be fine, but I have that top piece which you add on there so you can stick pegs in, and it never really fit over top of that well. And even if it does, I got tape for easy cleaning. I'll lay tape over it. So then all I do is peel the tape up. And this piece doesn't have much weight, so it's not like I can. This wants to spin on top of it more than it wants to spin it. As you can see, I'm just lightly just trying to make coverage. And I might, it's drying fairly quick, but then I like to hair dry it a little bit. And the nice thing is, wow, I'm really seeing all that detail that they put into the hull, which is really nice. Hopefully some of that will show through with the big decal sheets. I think we can get a lot more because I got all that black on that one to go away. Do we have enough paint? We might. Yeah. Oh yeah, I think so. Thought easily I'm going through this a little faster, but it's covering, doing pretty good. So let's really focus on these phaser arrays. You know what? I could even come with a wet Q-tip and clean those LEDs. It's not a big deal. Water-based paint's easy to clean if you do an oops. Even if it wasn't, a solvent would clean it. If it was like a regular acrylic or... I want to spray these good because I want to see if there's still any areas that I need to touch up. But so far, I am liking what I'm seeing. Like right there, I might want to hit with something. I can probably hit with a little bit of that gray Tamiya primer. All right, let's do the overall here. This is where I wish it wasn't so cold outside so I could use my big gun. For big saucers, I have a big gun with my bigger compressor out in the garage. And usually just it's done. But it is frigid outside. And at my old place, I could do it in the basement. It was still cold down there. But I could at least go down there and spray something and bring it back up really quick. Especially when you're doing smelly rattle can stuff. It's actually allowing me to put a pretty decent coat on these. But that also has to do with, it's a lot of area to cover. Like sometimes I can get, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to. Sometimes you can get enough. There you go. And just use the air to blow a glob of paint in that little hole. Because this is craft acrylic, once the water evaporates, it'll be real thin and you probably won't even know. All right. I think that's a good for a first run. How much paint did we go through? Not bad. It's down to there. It might be good enough for another light coat. I'm getting some goobers. I might want to clean that off. But so I'm just going to keep on continuing. Hopefully maybe get to this drive section. But I think like I said, I want to hit that deflector dish area. I might want to just do a little black in there to light block that. Okay, we are painted, I think, completely. Yeah. Here's the top of the saucer. And then I sealed it with a semi-gloss, so when we do decals, came out great. The seams all in there look good. Paint definitely makes the windows look a little sharper because it kind of softens them. I'm happy with that. This still hasn't have a clear coat on it, but it's all done. I want to get gloves on because cracked acrylics, just the moisture in your hands and the oils can start softening up again. And here's the bottom. I love how it brought out the detail of all the panels and stuff. That's cool. You got to get this yacht put in here. Yeah, that looks good. And yeah, really. And there's the drive section. So much nicer, all cleaned up. Now this one, since this is Boyd's and it's kind of a custom ship, I have from the decals I got from Hijacks, I want to say, that I'm going to use the full decals. I was going to use it on one of these. I have 2 sets of them. But what I found is his comes with a neck here, has black dots, which I probably ended up poking and maybe drilling afterwards or something. But so I went and ordered 2 of the AMTs. So this one's going to get the AMTs. The new transparent one's going to get the new 8 ones from round 2. And then the saucer separated one, I'll use the Hijacks. They're really beautiful decals, but like I said, there was some inconsistency. I thought, oh yeah, the saucers had blacked out windows, where the one set I have doesn't, and then the other set does. So he accidentally maybe printed it with the window holes. I mean, if they line up perfectly, that would have been okay. Because then where I have these windows, I could have just cut those areas out or just scrape them out. But I just decided just to get the other set of round 2s. But he has some extra cool detail things, and he has little gray decals that go over these grids here that are the power trench covers. So I think that would make this a little different than the Enterprise D. I have photo etch for these little detail pieces here for this one and the Together Enterprise D. But my the newer one actually comes with a decal, and so I'll be swapping things to make things work. But enough of that. We can actually, I want to get at least one glove on to handle this and start pulling. I think I'm going to just start pulling the decals, or the maskings off of this, and then see where we have to clean up, because this paint I mixed a little bit more watery just to keep it from gumming up. You know, one thing you want to do when you're using like craft acrylics is thin them out enough, but like I said, the first coats will always be runny, or will want to run until they get a coat or 2 on, and you have to do a lot more. Multiple light coats is the best way to work with it. If you got a bigger needle, so I use my bigger needle, so it helps filter your mix it up in something else, and then use a filter. Your you're definitely going to want to use a filter before you pour it into your gun, because look at the gunk. There is gunk down there, and that's just because of how that paint is made. It's no solvents in there to really break everything up. Sometimes alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, will help. It will help if you mix a little bit in with the water, but you got to be careful because certain craft acrylics, and it's more color. It's not based by a company, or whether it's Folk Arts or Anita's or Deco. It's just certain paints, and usually you find it in the metallics. If you add alcohol to them, sometimes they want to gum. It'll turn into this little slimy gunk. A lot of the basic colors like green, blues, and grays doesn't. Like, I use some alcohol in here, and then that alcohol being in there acts like a solvent to keep your needle clean. But all right, yeah, let's get a glove on. I'll at least be holding it with one hand more than the other. I mean, it's easy to touch up. I see some areas, but also, I mean, I could clear this now. I mean, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea. At least clear most of the edges and not really try to clear over the masking. But, and I probably still would be able to clean up any of the runs. Maybe I should do that, because I should still be able to clean up where any of it seeped through, because it's nice because you can hit it with water. All right, got it clear on there. Didn't have to go heavy. A little shiny or up on the top, but it did help smooth out even more all that in the back there. But let's see. Trying to keep this off to one side all the time. What the mess we got here. Trying to remember how you wrapped all this up. See where we had a little bit seep through. Actually, it did pretty good, especially as wet. And there's a little bit in there, but I can go in there and just hit it with a wet Q-tip, hopefully. And a little chip there. Yeah, I can probably just dab that in with a brush. That's the other nice thing with the craft acrylics. They're really easy to touch up. Unless you have like a really deep trench, but that's with any paints. If you chip something or peeling up a mask and you get that the whole entire layers of paint come up, you gotta sand them smooth. But I can just lightly sand that and just hit it with a brush probably. But all in all, that's not bad at all. Back here, I know we finished the back half off. These tweezers just don't. It's hard for them to grip really skinny stuff. That. All that looks good. Unmasking is always like Christmas. It's like unwrapping a gift. I have a little spot there to touch up. But other than that, that's the other reason why I usually don't like clearing right away is and unmasking first, because the acrylic will. Let's see, we get a little touch up there, yeah, and I think that's probably the clear. The acrylic will like if you mask stuff and peel, it'll break fine because it doesn't have that rubberiness that the clear is probably giving it. And I think that's why I'm getting spots where just a little chip comes out. Yeah, I can touch in there with a brush. That's easy, which I probably want to clean up anyway. Yeah, I have a little bit of. Like I said, I can take one of these pointy Q-tips. I keep wanting to call them toothpicks. And you just get it damp. And as long as it didn't get any clear on it, it'll just wipe away. Yeah, beautiful. Any of it that seeped under the tape. Oh, but it's taking all that. Oh, it's taking all of it. Like sometimes with this clear, I almost should go and just, with the clear on it, and just give a little scar. Yeah. Probably, especially here, because this is where it's going to want to score it a little bit. Yeah, there you go. That'll keep it from pulling the paint off. There we go. Oh, we have one more thing, the deflector. Computer's getting very loud all of a sudden. Get a corner. Oh, well, my tweezers grab that. Doubt it. I don't know if these are a little better. Yeah. We're going to want to take a little time. There we go. Sweet, that's good enough. It's still got to get the copper orange in there, so I just let the gray spill in there because it does need to be gray on the outer edges of it, just so might dab a little gray in there to even it out, and then yeah, see, light it up and see how much it blocks some of the light. All right, but I'm going to go through and clear up, and then we can start getting some colors on here. Starting getting these phaser arrays done. Oh, we got to see. I definitely should score these. Wait. Oh, there it goes. Here we go. Not too bad. We'll touch up around it a little bit, but yeah, that's not bad. You can see the, yeah, that came off really nice, and it should do the same. And here I left it sink in a little more, so it should do the same here. There we go. That worked pretty well too. Nice. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that liquid mask for things like that. Because I'm starting to wonder if I did forget to put liquid vinyl on this upper light. Now I can tell it's pulling off. But again, you just do a little light score of the paint. Beautiful. Oh yeah, that's great. Sweet, that came out nice. These on the bottom should be a little easier. Almost gotta pop them like you have vinyl in there, like regular vinyl. I started an edge and just pull. That one. Just making sure it's clean and circular. Don't really have to worry about scratching the plastic piece that we put in there. We're going to hit it with clear. We're going to, and that's going to haze it up, which actually will work beneficial as far as I'm concerned. Then it won't be so bright. Diffuse it a little bit, I guess you could say. Oh, we lost some paint there. Oh well. Like I said, there's going to be touch-ups. That's an easy touch-up. Plus, then it gets a whole decal going over that too, because that's about where that pendant comes up through. And once we light them up, we can do a test. Make sure all that's shining through before we seal that all up again. I am happy. A couple places to touch up, but all in all, I thought I was gonna have having to clean these really bad. These the cells, Bassard collectors. I just had a little bit right there. But I think the next thing is let's get some of these phaser arrays done on the saucers and this, because I'm gonna mix up. I gotta mix up a khaki. All right, getting some of these masks down. Masking off this phaser. Figure I start at the bottom, because if there's anything I don't like, at least it's on the bottom. But just been regular old masking. Just figure I'd show you a little bit, and then on camera. It's basically doing that, just taking little pieces. You get around these tight corners, you have to do little tighter, smaller pieces. You get here, you can kind of do a little longer. Finish off this area. Keep continuing. Little pieces here. Maybe I'll try it again. Or I put a bunch of these down. You definitely want to do this part once at one at a time. Probably should have went an even smaller piece there. No, it went all right. You get more of these wrinkles like that. I mean, that's fine, but sometimes it can make where you're cutting like that get a little wrinkly, which then leads to areas that the paint could sneak into. But I'm going to keep continuing. Get this inner side done, and then we will spray some khaki down. Okay, I got a first coat on this one. I made the shade go up a little lighter. I think that's a little dark. But we're going to mask this one really quick while I'm bouncing through. Let that dry a little more before I do another coat. Starting this back corner, I guess. We're getting these longer sections of Crowley. Really? Now the inside. I'm not going to bore you with this. Well, okay. Airbrush these phaser arrays, so let's take them off. I went through different color things. I started off doing more of a khaki and really wasn't liking it by looking at pictures of the model. It's kind of like, and then I watched Lou's Helios 650, and he went with a concrete gray, but it does have a greenish tans in it. So what I did is I took that khaki, which I was making more of a green gray, and just kept going with a gray and mixed it in. And I like this better. I think it's closer to what I'm seeing from pictures of the full size filming miniature. Like if you look at that one, that is kind of a concrete with a hint of green tan kind of in it. So I hope I got it close. We will see. You look at this one in the crate, it almost has more of a tan green to it. And it's all about the lighting in it. You know, here's a saucer of the 12-foot, and that looks more in the gray. So, but I'm kind of liking this, almost like I think Lou used a concrete, but but with the olive green and a little bit of that. What I use, yellow orchid, that I was starting to make the khaki with, and then just kept adding gray. And I went with just a regular Anita's gray and mixed it, and actually put it what I mixed in this bottle, so I'll have it for the other two ships. And I'm liking it. I think that's going to work for me. Well, much better than when I had what I had first laid down. It was, I don't know if you can see any of it oversprayed. No, I think I covered most of it, but it was kind of like it was a little more on the green side, and wasn't really liking that. So that'll work, and I'll mark that as my Enterprise phaser, or it can even be for Starfleet because I could probably use it on others. I don't know the Voyager would work for that, if it would work for the Voyager, but let's start taking a look on how it's gonna look once we get all of this off. And we're probably gonna have some cleanup because, like I said, the first couple coats were very, very runny. Let's do one stripe at a time. No, I'm like, at least on the inside. Here's a little bit that went up that panel line, but this is water based, so I just take my little pointy Q-tip and yeah, it fared out way better than I thought as far as leaking. It was really runny. When they're really runny, they will find a way to get underneath stuff. But just a little bit starting on those little panel lines, but that's easy. It's an easy cleanup. But yeah, there's, you can see that, I don't know if you can get the color, but that run there is more that green that I first laid down. And yeah, a little bit too green. I'm glad I said nope. I started doing it last night, and I decided to let you know sometimes you just need to go away and come back with fresh eyes. And I'm glad I did. As that looks much better. Yeah, I gotta watch it. I'm taking a little bit off the wall. That's the only problem. Or the other thing you can do is just, which is probably a better way to do it, lightly scrape. Sometimes you can even use just a toothpick and you don't gouge. And then a little damp, because this one's too damp. It's about to touch up that there. We'll just go around and you can just take your knife and just lightly get rid of the excess wheat. Another good way is, while I had it taped up, I could have put a light seal on it too. And then the paint that leaks under will still be, you know, not sealed. So you can kind of get in there and hit it then. And remember, it's going to get a lot of Aztec decals coming down here. This toothpick's working great. Well, all right. I lost a little bit of audio on that last clip, so we'll probably just maybe do a speed through of me just taking the tape off. But everything came off pretty clean. You just go through and clean up a little bit to make things a little more even. Like I said, I'll just go through and we'll touch up any areas I don't like the way they look before we put a clear on it. But all in all, that bottom looks nice. I'm definitely glad I went and added a lot of gray to that. I still see that greenish tint that's kind of common to the actual filming miniature. It's a tacky green brown, you know. But I like that it's a little more into the gray zone for my taste. And then we need to do all the ones on here, touch up a little where we did have a little gray come off there. I think that's the only major spot, was just that little spot. There was probably a little overage, and then there's a scratch there, but those are easy to touch up. And we'll touch up around, you know, our phasers. Now I know that the Aztec decals come with this gray part here. It looks like it stopped, so I might actually have to paint this part. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at their full. I haven't opened up and seen the instructions for that. And I know we had like a couple little grab little chips, or where tape was over, I think, in here. But I'm going to go through all these. Yeah, right there. There's a little where the tape was probably just against the wall too much. We'll go through and touch them up. I might even wait to do that till I get this copper on here. And like I said, I think I'm going to hand do that. Still on the fence if I want to do a little shading of a color here, and then like I've seen other people do, then they do like a black smoke, because that is the way the filming miniature looks. I might just go and just do the black smoke and not even worry about the coloring, because I think at this scale it's not a big deal. But I do like that look of that black smoke, and plus then it hides all these deep cavities that this kit itself has. Where I see like the filming miniature, it's a little tighter. But that'll work. Yeah, once we get these done and clear, I think the next thing we'll jump into is, I think, getting these windows in. I'd like to get those windows, get some of the solar res in, and we'll decide. I haven't, if we actually use the solar res, or do I use, this is more of a putty. It's a Mr. UV clear putty. That might be nice to go in from behind and just squish through, and hopefully we can get it up to that level. Is this water-based, like as far as cleanup? UV putty, clear putty, high transparency and viscosity with strong adhesion strength, suitable for model making. Can be colored, which is neat. So I could probably use that for this windows. That's an idea. Where I can get a little blue tint in there. And everything's in. All right, here we got English. And if you add lots of like color to it, it might take longer to cure. I'd like to see if it, well, I'll look at that, but you know, just in case you get any up top, it'd be nice if I can just wipe it off with water. But yeah, and then we'll get the windows in, because then once we get the windows in, we can start putting that shuttle bay down. Like I said, I'll cut 4 little styrene posts to give that, so when it's resting up here, that's not the only glue point, and where that's sitting there, it'll give it a little more strength that way. And what I'm thinking of doing is making tails for these and bringing them out, and then that way they can catch these tails, because I can shove more wire back into this, and that way I can actually close this saucer like I usually like to do before I put it on that. I can shove the extra in here and probably up and through here too, as we're closing this up. That way we can easily touch this up without it being, you know, we only have to deal with that. Maybe even get the impulse engines and everything on too. And I'm still debating, you know what, I might actually even put it together before we even do the decaling. Because then I don't have to worry about any masking. I can just right away touch all this up, which should go on pretty good. I just really got to hit this bottom edge with some gray, because that's going to show, I believe, as part of that ridge. Yeah. So we just really got to go in there and touch that up. But I'm glad there's not a lot of paint on there. I might actually even want to clean this up so we get a better glue adhesion for this rim. And we'll definitely sand this rim so it's plastic to plastic. And I think that's what we'll do here. But I'm glad you guys are watching the series. I'm glad you're being so patient. I just haven't been able to fully focus on this with everything that's going on. It's today's Sunday, February what? 2nd, I want to say. And yeah, I got my cancer came back, so Tuesday I'm going in for a biopsy, so I'll be in a minor surgery for them to do that Tuesday morning. And then yeah, so my mind's been other wires and tests and scans and all that, and so I haven't been able to work on this like I want to, but hopefully we'll get this going forward at this point, and when I go through treatments it won't be too bad. But hopefully, if everything goes like the last couple, should be good. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. Plus, I've been doing, I don't know if I can swing him over there, a stormtrooper helmet. Just for something simple to do while I was, going through all these tests and stuff they were running me through. So he's cool. I just still got this part's glued, but this and this whole piece is not glued up here. And then this gets glued there. It kind of gives you, it's cool. It kind of gives you a marker, and then it gives you a nice smooth rim. But, yep, all in all, though, he's glued up. I'll have a little quick mini series, but, I'm going to do some stuff on props like this that I'm building. Like I did on the Han Solo blaster. I got other blasters I want to print and build. These are the little microphones that go in these areas. Goes in, and here's the greeblies that go on the earpieces. So I'm doing that, and then I was also working on, this is really cool, working on her for a friend. She is neat, a little fairy. So I got the mushrooms and the base done, did a little flock down there, and then where these holes are, I'm going to have lights shining up to glow everything from the underneath. So she is cool. She's got her wings. I printed in clear. I'm starting to paint them up. I've been doing, staying busy, but I just didn't have the mindset to stay focused on that. But hopefully that I can move forward now that the hospital has a plan on what we're doing. So it's going to be a biopsy this Tuesday. And then I meet with my lung surgeon a week or so from now. And then I meet with my main cancer doctor, my oncologist, and we'll see what happens. I'm sure the lung surgeon, she's probably going to say we're going to go in and cut it out, and then probably chemo afterwards. So same thing I've done 3 times already. Just doing this again, it's getting rough. But hey, that's where this modeling has helped me so much. So stay positive and keep on trucking. It kind of puts a little special meaning to working on this one for Boyd. I'm actually going through the same thing again, what he was when I'm building his. So Wonderfest, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do Wonderfest this year. If treatments go the way they normally do, it'll be right at the line of, let's see, February. I mean, it'll be, probably wouldn't be March until I start. And I usually think surgery, they're going to want, it's going to be 6 weeks. They're not going to want to do chemo right after surgery. They kind of want you to get healed up and stuff. And then just like they don't want you to go back to work right after surgeries. So it's usually about the same timeline, 6 weeks, and until they want to start. So there's a month and 2 weeks till they want to start chemo. And then chemo is usually 6 sessions, and that's every other week, so it's twice a month. So you're looking at 3 months there. So it's probably going to push me into Wonderfest time, and I really wanted to get that at Wonderfest and a couple other things. And I didn't go last year because I had wanted to do a bigger trip, and went 2 years in a row. I wanted to do save money for a bigger trip towards the end of the year, so that's why I didn't. That's went to the Outer Banks, and I spent a whole week there, and so that's what I was saving that money for. And figured I'd come back this year, and hopefully, I don't know, financially, yeah. But I have friends that are like, "We'll take you there if you can go. We'll take you there." So, and we'll get a place instead of the hotel. Yeah, because money wise, I definitely it's gonna because I'm gonna be out of work for a while, so money wise, it would make it hard to go to Wonderfest. But like I said, I have good family that said that they would want to take me if I can, and we'll have to see, if I'm still going through treatments that don't fall in that week, or can I finagle my treatments to where I miss. I think Wonderfest is June 1st, and March it'll be May 31st, 31st, and June 1st. June 1st will be the Sunday. So yeah, I got to see. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. I don't have an actual chemo day week. That's not my chemo week. Or depending on if that can even like the first week of June could be my chemo week if it's not till like Wednesday. And I don't go in, or Tuesday. Tuesday would be better because it gives me a day or two to get home. So we'll see. But like I said, I appreciate the patience on this. This is Kit really doesn't take this long. It's just been plus I've been doing 3 of them too. So that what you got to do to that one, and then drilling the holes, and then 2 of them I have to drill holes. This other one isn't bad because it's the new one that you can just scrape the windows. But so I've been working on 2 of them. I kind of put the other one that I got to drill holes aside so that we can get these 2 out, and then as far as showing videos of the newer one, it'll be where there's differences in these 2 ships, like the light blocking and stuff like that is different. But until next time, thanks for watching.